All right, here's George. I'm very glad you won that fight, Matt, but I'm not impressed by your performance, and I look forward to fight you in the near future.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's been an interesting week in the world of X-Men. And obviously, I know a lot of people have been waiting to hear Doc's take. You've heard what I think about Children of the Atom. You've heard what I think about Planet-Size X-Men and the Hellfire Gala. Now that we've got some details. So here with me is the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado. Doc, how you doing?
I'm great this morning, sir. It's a wonderful day to talk X-Men, even if it was a terrible week for X-Men.
It's almost been a dumpster fire week in X-Men. First week, we got the details of the Hellfire Gala. Let's start off talking about Planet-Size X-Men, apparently giant-size X-Men, historically associated with the X-Men title, and just with Marvel Comics in general. Apparently, that's not a big enough name. It's got to be Planet-Size X-Men from your favorite X-Men writer, Gerry Duggan, and Pepe Larraz. Obviously, I'm excited about the art. Not exactly excited about the creative team, and I guess that's going to be part of a 12-issue series. Now, Doc, I got to ask you, is Planet-Size X-Men going to be part of the 12 issues, or is that going to be like the intro, and then we'll get another Planet-Size outro?
I think it's part one. I think that it's going to be part one. Just a guess, because by my count, there's 11 X titles by the time this launches, because you're going to have Cable that's canceled by then. So that would have made 12, but Cable's canceled at issue 12.
Would it be great if you read it and you can automatically tell that it's actually 2 issues of Cable?
Oh, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest bit. But yeah, I think there's 11 other X titles right now. So adding planet-sized X-Men as part 1 or part 12, one of the two, wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, look, we got 5 issues of giant-sized X-Men last year that were really only marginally larger than normal-sized X-Men. This time, we're getting 39 pages, which is almost sort of maybe half of giant-sized X-Men. So by the time we get to, I don't know, galactic-sized X-Men next year,
it's going to be a micro comic. It's going to be like 2 pages.
Well, no, it'll be all the way up to an actual giant-sized issue. Maybe.
I think the giant-sized X-Men comics are like 44 pages. I think it's getting smaller.
Were they? I thought they were only 30 pages.
I don't think so. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They were a waste of money anyway.
They were. For the most part, there's a couple of things that you learn there, but it certainly wasn't worth taking the journey, in my opinion. Now, there will be people that disagree with me. So we're getting Planet-Size X-Men, one of the dumbest names I've ever heard for anything, from Gerry Duggan. Don't know why they keep putting their efforts behind Gerry on the X-Men titles. It doesn't feel like it's worked out thus far. But it's leading in. It's going to be part of this big X-Men Hellfire Gala vote, where we're going to get the official vote for who's going to be on the new Quiet Council now that Jean Grey has stepped away. We know Cyclops is no longer the Captain Commander. He resigned his position so that he could go help his son during Ten of Swords.
Yeah, they still haven't replaced him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what this is about. And then also along with that, we're going to get the vote for the official X-Men team, where the fans are going to vote one of the new members, and then the other members have already been chosen. And somehow this dinner party that is going to encompass this is going to be 12 issues long. In Ten of Swords, there was a dinner party that was 3 or 4 issues, and it was banal. Like, it was just, why am I reading this? This is such a big waste of time. But now they've decided to pad it out a little bit.
Yeah, because the worst, I mean, of all of the terrible parts of X of Swords, the worst part was easily the dinner party.
Nah, it's got to be when they started the trial by combat, and it turned out they were doing like charades and stuff.
Well, I don't know. That was more ridiculous.
Gorgon went to go bang a rock, dude.
I understand that, but it was ridiculous stupidity that they thought might, I don't know, be amusing to people. Whatever, momentum they had already started building. I mean, the little bit from the Quest of Swords portion of X of Swords, any momentum built there was just utterly destroyed whenever they decided to all sit down for 3 issues to go to a dinner party and have a bunch of nonsense. I mean, because hey, remember, they still had
whatever.
They had ridiculous nonsense there too, where they were competing in stacking cup competitions and shit like that. So, I mean, in fairness, we should have seen what was going to happen later. But this time they decided to take the most grating and, you know, it was basically like pulling the emergency brake on anything and decide to pad that part out to 12 issues. You know, and giving it to Gerry Duggan. Honestly, though, not surprising. They gave their first event to the worst X-writer in Tini Howard. So they give their second event to the second worst X-writer in Gerry Duggan. The next event, I can't wait for 2022 to get the Vita Ayala event. And then maybe the Leah Williams event after that. So we're going to get, you know, this is going to be awful. I mean, we know it's going to be awful. It's a goddamn dinner party as an event.
It could be the Red Wedding of X-Men.
If it was the Red Wedding, it doesn't matter because they can slaughter everybody in the fucking room and bring them back the next issue. It doesn't matter.
It'd have to be another world for it to have any stakes.
Yes, it would. Not only would it have to be an otherworld, it would have, and even then, it doesn't really even have any stakes. Then you still can bring them back. You just
have different personalities.
Yeah, well, I mean, hell, it would explain why all the other ones have different personalities. Anyways, they could just write them the exact same way that they're writing them right now, and then just retcon in. Oh, wait, by the way, everybody died in Otherworld before. But no, there's no stakes to this. It's a dinner party, so you're going to see a bunch of people making poor decisions and getting into petty.
There's going to be like
grievances.
Behind the back politicking, and Emma Frost is going to be, you know, trying to get her. It's going to be so much scheming and just like high school petty bullcrap.
Yes, all it's going to be is petty nonsense that nobody really cares about. I mean, is anyone reading X-Men to see like whiny, petty politicking? No, we get enough of that shit in the real world. We want to have at least some degree of escape in it. I mean, give me a fucking X-Men story.
Yeah, that's a lot to ask for, Doc. It's crazy. Back in the day, if you got like a 9-issue like X-Men crossover event, you know, they'd be flying through time and saving the world and everything. But now you get a 12-issue crossover and it's dinner. Yeah.
I mean, Executioner song started off with, you know, fake Cable killing Xavier, and you ended up by the 9th issue of the story on the moon with Strife and Apocalypse and Archangel fighting in the blue area of the moon with Inhumans back when they were still kind of cool to try to save everything. And then we got the legacy vibe.
How the mighty have fallen, Doc.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they went all across. They went entirely around the globe and onto the goddamn moon for something, you know, for some big spanning adventure. Now they don't even leave the same room. Yay!
Yeah, and it's just whatever. It's. I'm not excited for this.
I'm not. I mean, you have a very, in my opinion, mediocre at best. On his best day, he's mediocre in Gerry Duggan. I'm happy to get Pepe Larraz, but I'm sorry. I mean, wait, are we getting Pepe Larraz on this one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
R.B. Silva is the artist on Fantastic Four.
Okay. Sorry, I confuse all the Stuart Immonen clones. No, I mean, look, Pepe Larraz's art is pretty good. I like him. But you have a bad creator, and the fact is that this is just going to end up spinning out of whatever's going on in Marauders, and Marauders is just rotting on the shelf of most comic shops at this point. Nobody's buying it. Nobody's reading it.
I think the core problem with this is that you have a bad premise going in. It's going to be a really hard sell. We shall see how that goes, but there was more pressing issues, I guess, within the world of X-Men. This week, we finally got the much-delayed Children of the Atom from Vita Ayala and Bernard Chang. I did a review, obviously, on the YouTube channel. Not very impressed. I don't think that Vita Ayala knows exactly what she wants that story to be. Well, I do think she knows what she wants the story to be, but she introduces so many plot elements and so many side things that the actual story just it's overwhelmed with just bullcrap.
You know, first of all, I will say this issue was a tremendous waste of Bernard Chang. This whole series is a tremendous waste of Bernard Chang. He's way more competent of an artist than to be stuck on this book. But to your point about Vita not really knowing what this is, you know, this comic kind of felt like one of my ex-girlfriends, that every single time it's like she started the conversation in her head and then brought me into it in the middle of it, and I already said things that I don't know what I said, and she told me things that were incredibly important to the premise of the whole thing that she decided not to inform me of because she told them to me in her head. And that's what it feels like this comic is. It starts, and I have no problem with dropping you into the middle of a story so that they can kind of flash back to, you know, the how did we get here thing. That's fine. I'm good with that. I'm used to it. I mean, hell, I grew up jumping into X-Men in like issue 222. So I'm used to coming in the middle of a story and then having to figure out, like, get my bearings.
All right, Doc, I got a question for you because I never figured this out.
Yeah.
They're fighting the Hell's Bells.
For no apparent reason, yes.
Why? Why are they fighting the Hell's Bells? It's clear that they stole something. I don't know what they stole. Was it money? Did they steal cars? Did they steal, like, their street cred? I don't know. They're just fighting. Yeah,
this is, they're supposed to be, essentially, the Hell's Bells are supposed to be your,
no, don't tell me what they're supposed to be. Tell me what Vita Ayala wrote in there. What did they do?
Oh, damned if I know. They're essentially nothing more than,
it says there's a one line of dialogue that intimates that they possibly stole something.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were robbing an armored car, but I haven't the slightest goddamn clue what they thought.
They left without the money?
Yeah, it's they because not Nightcrawler stole the bags. Yeah. Stole the bags, and then, oh wait, nobody cared anymore. So whatever, if there was going to be some interesting hijinks regarding what was being stolen, yeah, that totally got forgotten by like the 5th page. But no, they're essentially when you buy a video game and when you're in the learning the tutorial mode, that's what these are. They're tutorial.
Well, it was very emblematic. Just the opening sequence where it's like, yes, this is action. I hope you enjoy action. There's no needs for this action. It's just generic action. It was almost a metaphor for the characters in this book. Here are characters. Here's character A, B, C, you know. There are no defining characteristics of these characters other than that they look kind of like the heroes that they want to look like. They have some powers that they're emulating, but they don't have personalities. They don't have a voice. They're just character.
Yeah. And then she spends the last half of the book trying to put a character to each of them, but it's I don't know. It's like this weird way of trying to introduce. I don't know. Maybe it's a modern way of trying to introduce characters by just showing their powers, and then I'll develop, he this cool shiny thing, and then maybe I'll make it interesting later. And give it some substance now. But all it is This is like the member berries of comic books. Like, hey, remember all these characters that you used to think look cool? Well, here's other characters that look almost exactly like them, so you should probably think they're cool.
It's crazy. There's 40 pages. So Vita Ayala had 40 pages to establish a character with a motivation.
I got none.
None of it. None of it was ever achieved. Now, I get what the story is supposed to be. This is supposed to be a metaphor on trans people. These are humans that identify as mutants, but they obviously cannot be seen by Cerebro. They cannot pass through into Krakoa because they are not, in fact, mutants. And will Krakoa accept them since they identify as mutant? That is the purpose of the story. But she doesn't really clearly spell that out.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be, there's that metaphor. There's also the there's going to be a consent metaphor in here with, you're going to find out that a lot of that they were all subject to experiments to make them mutants. I got $5 as that happens. Well, now Vita's going to change the story so she can get $5 off me. But no, this is definitely an aiming at metaphor and allegory and missing completely.
Well, there's the weird part where the main character, Cyclopsless, she stands up to the high school bully and is like, how dare you insinuate that mutants are trying to take over the world, even though we've read clearly within Dawn of X that mutants are trying to take over the world.
Yes. Don't you dare believe your lying eyes. This is basically just 9-panel grid virtue signaling. I might as well have just read her Twitter or their Twitter account. Because that's all it was. It was just an excuse to make them the victim that are fighting against oppression, blah, blah, blah. I've seen this a million times. You haven't done anything original here, Vita. This is
here's a lot of times the X-Men have been used as an allegory for minorities.
Yeah, of course.
But it's not the greatest allegory in the world, and here's why. Because the mutants that are on the X-Men team have really dangerous powers. And if they wanted to, they could murder most people.
Correct.
So it makes them, considering they're so dangerous, it kind of makes sense that humans or Homo less superior would be a little apprehensive or even afraid of mutants that are so severely powered, even if they're on the X-Men team and have proven that they have heroic traits.
Yeah, because you also just opened up an entire island for even the bad guys to show up.
Yes.
And hang out with them. So now you've created a situation where the optics to the rest of the world are, yeah, we know we've saved you a lot, but all these other people that have tried to kill you a lot, yeah, they're just kind of living down the street now. And they have
immunity.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. We saw it in the very first issue. It doesn't matter what Sabretooth does. He can murder anybody he wants. He can steal stuff. He's got immunity. You have to let him go back.
Yeah. And no, I would, as a normal human being, if, for instance, a hostile or questionable foreign government stuck a bunch of, essentially trained military people on my soil and then gave them immunity from prosecution for literally anything they do, even if they decide to go on a murder spree, I would then start questioning not only my government's willingness to protect me, but anybody from that other country, because now they're protecting their own citizens, even from slaughtering my neighbors.
Which is it's crazy. We've seen them try to kidnap the Fantastic Four's children.
Yes, there is the ethical and moral compass of the mutant species right now is essentially just kind of spinning. Does not point in any
by any means necessary.
Yes. They have become incredibly pragmatic, but at the same time, that also makes them kind of hella dangerous. And
No, they went
questionable.
into a meeting with the UN and said, "Listen, this is what we're going to do. We have these drugs. We're going to use them against you, and we're going to leverage them to take all of your wealth. And there's nothing you can do about it." Good day, sir.
Yeah. I wouldn't exactly be super happy in that situation. I would not be like, "Hey, you know what? They seem like great people."
How dare you besmirch the name of the Krakoan nation, sir?
Yeah, I know, right?
Bigots.
but so now there was a couple of interesting visuals that I did notice through this comic. The interest with now calling her buddy it's a terrible name. But the visual of her in the school later, back after their fight is all over, and then they just kind of go home and go back to school. She did visually, she looked like Quentin Quire before turning to Kid Omega whenever in his first couple appearances in Morrison X-Men. So that was interesting to me. The glasses, the button-down shirt with the sweater vest over top of it. Now that was, and maybe that's some sort of foreshadowing. I don't know, because it's even like the same colors that Quentin was wearing. So now I think that may be what they're aiming at here, where they're I don't know what the goal here of this book is, and that's the problem. By the end of issue 1, you don't know what the purpose of this book is. There's no function to it.
No, there's no clear characters established. There is a team. You don't know any of them. You don't know their motivations. You don't know what their relationship is with each other. Do they all live in a home together? Or are they just friends from the streets? Why have they gotten together? None of that is established. It was an enormous waste of time, and it's severe execution problems on the part of Vita Ayala, in my estimation, as far as Children of the Atom. So, Doc, that's basically going to kind of wrap up this week in X-Men. We talked about Planet-Size X-Men, the Hellfire Gala, and gotten your thoughts on Children of the Atom. We have a couple more seconds here. Do you have anything left to say about either of those topics before we kind of wrap this up?
Children of the Atom might quite possibly be the worst written, it's like, and characterized renditions of Storm, Jean, Logan, Nightcrawler, and Cyclops I have seen in a decade. It made Jason Aaron deciding to flip all these characters around and forget who they are. It's like she took everything that was bad about Jason Aaron and everything that was bad about all the writers since then and even before then, and decided to just throw all their personalities into a blender.